Welcome, 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 everybody. My singing is still horrible, but I'll stop singing. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Into the Stratusphere. I'm your girl, Cindy G here. How you guys are doing? It's already been May, you guys. I feel time has been going by pretty quickly, especially we're still in a pandemic, but then again, everything is slowly going back to normal. It's like I've seen like the CDC made the announcement saying that you don't have to wear a face mask out in public except you have to go inside. You still gotta wear your mask in any indoor public places, but like outside you don't. Unless if you've been vaccinated for like 2 weeks straight, which is interesting. And also, like, more stuff has been reopening across the country. Well, mainly in the United States. And yeah, you guys, I don't know. Like, a year ago, the world has been shutting down and everything changed. And now this year is starting to slowly going back to normal. I know for you guys in different parts of the country, you guys are still going on with the high rise of the cases and also like more of the restrictor laws that's been going on. So I just wanted to send my heart goes out to everyone out there. Just hang tight, you guys. I know that they're trying their best to like roll out some of the vaccines and everything you can too. And so, yeah, I don't know. This whole pandemic thing is very crazy, you guys. It's like so mind-boggling. And that's what I've been kind of like dealing with last month too. Like one of the reasons why I haven't recorded the podcast like for 2 weeks straight before I did the episode 33 of the Impact Wrestling Rebellion recap, you guys. So, yeah, it's pretty surreal, but yeah, but hey, at least like it's slowly going back, and guess what? I'm bringing back independent wrestling results and upcoming show date, but it's gonna be a little bit of it, you guys, because your girl is slowly but surely coming back to promote the world of independent wrestling, especially in California, you guys. Independent wrestling in NorCal is slowly coming back, you guys. But anyway, forgot to mention the name of the episode. So, episode 34. That is right, you guys. That is the title of the episode, of course, even though I cannot pronounce the living daylight out of me, even though I'm Latina. But, like, it has, like, some vowels that's so hard for me to roll, so just bear with me again. So, of course, today's episode definitely will be the results for independent wrestling shows across the state and upcoming show day, which I only have one. Also, I'm going to be tying into the recent show from AAA Wrestling as part of the wrestling news headline, because there has been a lot to talk about too, especially like I know there has been new crowd, a new champion, and the whole reason why situation. So definitely we'll be covering about that, especially about that promo. Like, oh my god, you guys, that everybody's buzzing. Also, usual recap from NWA Powerrr, especially the upcoming pay-per-view they just announced a couple days ago, and also the date as well. Also, Impact Wrestling's recap, especially my final thoughts of the Impact Wrestling's recent pay-per-view, Rebellion, and also about the AEW bonus, which I'll be making a brief announcement about it on the end of the show as well, because there is going to be some formatting changes, so just bear with me on that. Alright, y'all, Bulletcast Nation, without further ado, here it is. We're going to kick it off with some independent wrestling results and, upcoming shows. So, I'm so glad that everything's slowly going back to, well, you could say normal, but not really, but, it is what it is, you guys, in the world of this whole craziness going on. But yeah. Anyway, you guys, so first things first, Jersey Championship Wrestling, that is right. JCW Presents Opening Day just had their show on May 1st. Took place at Atlantic City, New Jersey, at the Showboat. So you have the team of Young, Dumb, and Broke consists of Charlie Tiger and Elias Taylor defeated the team of Dylan McKay and Marcus Matthews in a tag team match. Charles Mason defeated Steve Scott. Billy Stark defeated Johnny Kai. Frontman Jai defeated JJ Garrett. Everett Connors defeated Edith Surreal. One Call Matters defeated Conan Lycan. Joey Janela, of course, defeated Slayer. And in your main event match, Ninja Mac defeated Dante Leon. So these are the results from JCW. You guys can definitely check it out on their YouTube channel and on Fight TV as well. And so afterwards, on the same day, GCW presents Ashes to Ashes. Just took place at the same venue at the Showboat on May 1st. So you have is Solomon Topu defeated Jeffrey Johns and Kristen Robinson and Levi Everett and Mikey Donovan and Mike Swanson in a dark match 6-way scramble match. Then in the main card you have is Atticus Kogar defeated Tony Deppen. Cole Roderick defeated Braden Lee. The team of Iron Beast consists of KTB and Shane Mercer. Defeated the team of Bussy, consists of Effie and Alley Cat in a tag team match. Lee Moriarty defeated AEW star Joey Janela. Mance Warner defeated Nolan Edwards. AJ Gray defeated Dante Leon, Frontman Jai, Ken Broadway, Ninja Mac, and Yoya in a 6-way scramble match. Nick Gage defeated Jordan Oliver and retained the GCW World Championship match. And in your main event, G Raver defeated Jimmy Effin Lloyd in a glass ceilings match. Holy crap. Congratulations to all the winners. So if you want to check out GCW, make sure to head on to Fight TV so that way you don't want to miss all the goodness and all that. So anyway, now upcoming shows. So all we have is one show that is like that's going to be taking place this Saturday, May 8th, and that is right, it's in Northern California. East Bay Pro Wrestling will be having their first live audience show on Saturday, May 8th, and it's going to be taking place in Pachanko, California. So here are the matches that has been announced. You have is Chris Blaze versus Cocky Johnson. Then you'll have Fabuloso Fabrico and Marco Mania versus the team of Robert Taylor and Bryson Andrew in a tag team match. Then you'll have the team of Dark Enforcer versus the Bike Club to determine the number one contendership for the East Bay Pro Wrestling Tag Team Championship match. Then you'll have D-Rogue versus Kenny K versus Cliff Hendrick for the number one contendership for the East Bay Pro Wrestling Championship match. Then you'll have is Aaliyah Mia Sweet versus Jordan Blue for the number one contendership for the PSG Women's Championship match. And also, pretty much, I think the main event match is going to be the East Bay Pro Wrestling Championship match, where the current champion, Cereza, forgive me if I botched the name, Cereza, will be defending his title against Mr. East Bay Pro himself, Midas Creed. And a cheap plug, make sure to check out the recent episode of the Bulletcast where Philip Antoine did interview Midas Creed, as well as he did interview D-Rogue as well. So highly check out these episodes. The interview was fantastic. I learned so much about both of these guys. I actually heard about Midas Creed when he made the appearance on the GCW Fight Forever during an impromptu, I call it the Young Guns match, of course, with the rest of the rising stars from GCW. So, yeah. So, anyway, guys, so tickets is on sale, so make sure to head on to Eventbrite, and also make sure to follow East Bay Pro Wrestling on all social media networks, so that way you guys will know where it's going to be taking place. So, yeah, you guys. And that is it for the independent wrestling news and results, you guys. I know it's just short and sweet, but it's just slowly but surely coming back to getting more of the groove of which independent wrestling shows coming back. But however, if you have an upcoming shows and if you want to give show results, make sure to slide into my DM on Instagram or on Twitter. It's at simply_C_okay. Or if you want to send an email to me personally, make sure to contact my email at simply.c.okay@gmail.com. Alright, you guys, with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about last night's AAA Wrestling Rey de Reyes 2021. So that's right, that's the first ever Rey de Reyes. They were supposed to be doing it last year, but the pandemic hit and they had to cancel the event. So it did take place in Puebla, Mexico, and it's at a closed studio. Of course, empty arena, which, it is what it is, especially in the world of this pandemic going on. So the results are here. So you guys, Latiego defeated Aramis, Arnaz, Tuxin, and Dinastina in a 5-way match to determine the #1 contendership for the AAA World Cruiserweight Championship match. The current Cruiserweight Championship champion is none other than Lio Rush, of course. Then you have is Taurus, which you guys remember him. Taurus, who's now with Impact Wrestling, defeated Octagon Jr. and Villano III Jr. in a 3-way match for the vacant AAA Wrestling Latin American champion. That's right. Taurus / Black Taurus is the new Latin American champion, which I couldn't have been more happier than ever. I'm hoping that, for the upcoming, Impact Wrestling taping, they can definitely acknowledge Taurus being the champion in AAA Wrestling. I think that'll be bringing more of a possibility, especially helping more of a notoriety for the DK as well. Now that Taurus is a current champion, maybe an endless possibility, because I know that with Impact Wrestling, they're still doing more of this cross-promotion. The vacant Latin American champion, the last one that was holding the title before it got vacated, was none other than Daga, which I'm going to put it on the side because there has been reports about Daga and his wife, Tessa Blanchard, are closing into being signed with either WWE or AEW. I know a lot of people are very vocal about Tessa Blanchard was getting close to sign to AEW. However, there has been a couple of reports some of the female AEW stars, whether they're on the rosters or some of the independent wrestling stars that appear on AEW Dark, are very vocal against Tessa joining AEW, especially mainly talking to Kenny Omega, who is still in charge. However, there has been reports about Tessa joining WWE, which, I don't mind. I just don't care any less. I mean, I used to be a fan of Tessa, but then this whole controversy happened and she lost my respect. But either way, for Daga, it can be either AAA, AEW or WWE, mainly WWE, because I know for a fact with this whole partnership going on with AEW, with Impact Wrestling, there has been a riff of a history going on. I mean, Tessa was the Impact World Heavyweight Champion, and she doesn't want to defend her titles, but until she has to be forcibly vacated the title as well. So it may be going to be either or for it, but we'll see what's going to happen. I know Philip and Brandon will be giving you the update about this whole situation when it comes to the Tessa Blanchard and Daga being signed to either of the companies. Anyway, back to the results. So you have Fabi Apache defeated Chic Tormenta, Lady Flamina, Lady Maravilla, Lady Shanti, and Sexy Star 2, not the original Sexy Star 2, and become in a 6-way elimination match for the vacant AAA Wrestling Reinas de Reinas champion. That's right. So Fabio Apache is the new champion. The last of the champion was none other than Ty Valkyrie, aka Frankie Monet, which she had to vacate a title because Frankie is officially with NXT, you guys. So I knew that Fabi's gonna be the champion, so I'm not too surprised about it. However, Deonna Purrazzo was the special guest commentary, and right after the match, Deonna Purrazzo got into the ring with the Knockouts title, of course, and she told Fabi Apache that she is the champion, she is the 2-time Impact Knockouts champion, she is the virtuoso, all that. And so she wanted to declare defending her belt against Fabi Apache's Reina de Reyes title in a champion versus champions match. Fabi accepted it. So there it is, you guys. We have is a champion versus champion match. Of course, Fabi Apache versus Diana Purrazzo being all set. I don't know which show it is. Probably Triple Mania or any other upcoming AAA wrestling event. I mean, I'm for it. I'm so excited that we're going to be having, like, you know, some of us representing Impact Wrestling to, like, to defend the title, just like the whole Kenny Omega Rich Swann situation, but, like, low key of it, too. And then you have is Laredo Kid defeated Drago, Amiso Negro Jr., Aerostar, El Hijo de Vaquiano, and Texina Cano Jr., Murder Cloud, and Mysticis Jr., and thus Laredo Kid has become the Rey de Reyes 2021 winner, of course. So congratulations, Laredo Kid. And in your main event match, it's a tag team no DQ match, which of course that match ends in no contest between the team of Psycho Cloud and Bagato versus the team of Chessman, and making his debut, Sam Adonis, aka Corey Graves' little brother. So, to check out more of more in depth of each of the matches, of course, I highly suggest to check out the Rudo's podcast. I know that Jay Rudo has been appearing in the Bulletcast Network so many times. So, him, Scotty Nobel, and Steve, they go more in depth of mostly AAA wrestling, as well as New Japan Pro Wrestling, AEW, and I think anything non-WWE related as well, but mostly more into its Lucha Libre as well. So I highly check it out. However, you guys, the one part that everybody's talking about throughout the whole match, that's right, the video promo, none other than, of course, Andrade. That's right, Andrade made his quote-unquote debut/return to AAA wrestling just in a video package, which he did talk about that he is the third generation wrestler. He is the youngest NWA champion ever. He wrestled in Japan before, the United States. He won titles everywhere. He talked briefly about, you know, being in WWE, but not too much. However, he said he wants to wrestle in AAA wrestling. His goals is two things. Psycho Clown is second, but the first is Kenny Omega and the AAA Mega Champion. That's right. And so Andrade did talk briefly about Kenny Omega becoming the AAA Mega Champion. You know, this whole, like, you know, being the fourth champion, whatever. Until, get this, Andrade is issuing a challenge for the AAA Mega Champion against Kenny Omega, the current champ, at Triple Mania. That is right, you guys. Andrade is issuing a challenge against Kenny Omega. You know what? I'm for it. I'm for it 100%. Knowing the fact that I know that Kenny Omega has a lot in his play when it comes to defending these belts. But then there has been a lot more of, like, this criticism about Kenny Omega as a champion itself, too. Like, I know Philip is very, and I mean very vocal about Kenny Omega's in-ring style, his persona, and everything altogether. And I understand the fact that, like, you know, Kenny Omega being, like, the belt collector is being too forced, you know? And the fact that, like, it's being too forced just to cater to the audience, like, you know, he's trying to bring in more of, like, his old Kenny Omega mixed with the new as well. But I honestly feel that, you know, him being a champion, that's fine. But however, you just needed to have it more of a convincing way, too. And I think that's kind of, like, hurting, like, when it comes to this cross-promotion, like, with Impact and AEW. Mainly AEW, of course. But, you know, that's just me. But, hey, I'm very glad that we got a challenger for the AAA Mega Champion. Hopefully, by the time Andrade's 90-day 90-day clause is up, hopefully we'll be seeing him in, like, some of the cross promotion too, like maybe AEW. You know, just an encounter with Kenny Omega, of course, because I know Laredo Kid was in AEW in the past, joining up with the Lucha Bros, of course. So, I mean, the partnership is still continue on. So I'm so happy Andrade is now with AAA Wrestling, where he is belong. And once the 90 days is up, I cannot wait to see which matchup he has. I know he's wanted to have a match against Psycho Clown, which I'm for it. So yeah, you guys. Alrighty, so enough of this whole results from AAA Wrestling and a little bit of the wrestling news headlines. You guys know I kind of like mixing it all together for more more newsworthy, and then some of the results and a little bit of a background what's going on. But yeah. Anyway, now we're gonna go into the recap for NWA Powerrr that took place on Tuesday, April 27. So, long story short about what I saw on NWA Powerrr Surge that is taking place almost 3 to 4 weeks ago. It was a pretty good, heavy promo episode of NWA Powerrr Surge. I mean, May Valentine and Joe Galli did work together. It's more heavy promo. We only have one match between Jeremiah Pluckett versus Mims, teacher versus students match, which I enjoyed. It's mostly about Nick Aldis's motive of recruiting the newest member of Strictly Business. And I know that the only person that was concerned about who's going to be still with Strictly Business was Camille, even though it's so funny that May Valentine actually read her so hard during the interview with Camille on Powerrr Surge. I mean, May can spot the BS and especially concern for anybody, so that's one of the highlights I really enjoy the most too. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the recent episode. So the opening you have is Nick Aldis being interviewed by Kyle Davis, which Nick Aldis did explain about what happened last week, which Nick Aldis was supposed to be having a main event match against Jordan Clearwater. By the way, the whole partnership New Japan and NWA still continue, of course. The match day already started until Trevor Murdoch came out, but then he got into a fight with Tom Lattimore and Chris Master of the Full Nelson, Adonis, of course, and then this whole melee happened. So all this called out Trevor Murdoch, so Trevor Murdoch comes out and he wanted an apology. However, he wanted a rematch still from Chris Adonis, which Nick Aldis, he definitely against it. But however, he wanted to make a proposition for a 6-man tag match. So Team Aldis versus Team Murdoch. And the proposition is if Trevor's team wins, Aldis will give him the title shot for the NWA National Championship match against Chris Adonis, a rematch, of course. However, if Trevor Murdoch's team loses, Trevor Murdoch has to stay home for 30 days without pay. And so Trevor Murdoch was very, very hesitant about it, but he agrees with it. But yeah, all in all, it was pretty much a good, surefire promo, especially the fact that you saw Trevor Murdoch was not happy with the whole situation with Strictly Business, and Nick Aldis was kind of being adamant towards Trevor Murdoch. But yeah, anyway, you have Sal Ronaldo versus Kratos, and honey, Kratos ain't playing it at all. But I want to give so much respect to Sal Ronaldo for handling how he is in the ring. I know he did take a couple counters from Kratos, but Kratos with the heavy jabs, the German suplex, the sidewalk slam, oh my god. Even May Valentine came out just to root for Sal Ronaldo. That's her best friend. But however, you have is Danny Deals, which you may remember Danny Deals from last season, actually a season or two ago of NWA Powerrr, where he dressed up as Tim Storm's mom, Mama Storm, of course. So I guess you could say is Danny Dale's officially the manager for Sal Ronaldo and Tim Storm, since Sal and Tim are officially a tag team, I guess. So Danny Dales came out. He brought in a steel chair until Kratos is not happy, and he chased him outside of the ring. That's where Kratos started beating the holy crap out of him, through the podiums and to the commentary table, of course. And then that's where Kratos got up. and start beating the holy hell out of Sal Ronaldo, even though Aaron Stevens did came out, made a plea to him to stop, but Kratos keep on going and going until referee ring the bell and the match ends in no contest. And afterwards, he still continue on to beat Sal Ronaldo, and then Aaron told him to stop until Kratos got out of the ring, and then he walked towards the commentary table where you saw a very frightened Velvet Sky got up and ran, standing way back, and that's where Kratos and Tim Storm had a face-off, and thus that's where Kratos and Tim Storm had like a brief counter, of course. And yeah, I mean, this is insane. This is like shows like what is going on altogether. I know Aaron Stevens was checking in on Sal Ronaldo. Well, this whole situation with Kratos and Tim Storm has been going on. There has been so many fallouts going on, especially when it comes to Kratos and Aaron Stevens. Ever since Aaron Stevens turned babyface, like after the death of Josephus / question mark, of course. And you see like he has like a change of heart too, but where Kratos, he's just a more sphere. I don't think he's gonna able to like change like his whole moniker altogether, especially like the whole fallout when it comes to the both of them being the NWA World Tag Team Champion. I mean, yeah. But we're gonna get into that when we're talking about the main event match. So afterwards, you have is Kyle Davis interviewing Jack Stane and Slice Boogie, of course. They had like a dueling promo. Of course, Slice Boogie like trash talking Jack Stane about like what happened during the tag team match. And of course, they're gonna be facing each other this week, of course. Well, they say next week, but it's this week actually, in a Falls Count Anywhere match. So this is gonna be a pretty fun match. We're looking forward to, even though I'm not a fan of Slice Boogie. Like, that's a hard no. But let me go ahead and sip on that. Yeah. And then afterwards, you have it's the NWA Television Championship match between the Pope versus Tyrus. So the match, it was like a less than a 10-minute match, and you have his Austin Idol on commentary replacing Tim Storm, while Tim Storm is aiding Sal Ronaldo to checking on him. And the match was alright. It's pretty decent. Like a lot of back and forth going on. Tyrus being like a ruthless monster he is. And the Pope, I mean, I love his counter moveset. There's like some pinfalls near falls, but however, the best part of it all is the back and forth argument between Austin Idol and Velvet Sky. Let me just say this, even though Velvet Sky's commentary is not my forte, but I'm glad she just brought in more of the attitude, more of the sass to Austin Idol, telling it like it is. Like, I could have been more entertained with this commentary more than the match itself, of course. I mean, kudos Velvet Sky. I mean, girl, you still got it. I want to see more of this when you're doing commentary, girl. Like, I'm very impressed. And so after this whole back and forth, like, you know, bickery, Austin Idol got up from the commentary table, and then he got involved during the match, of course. However, once the Pope got like knocked down on the apron, that's where Ty is starting to beat the holy crap out of it. And then, of course, time limit draw, you guys. So yep. Therefore, the Pope retains the title, and of course, Tyrus still beat the holy crap out of him. So the feud is still going on. What's going to be happening next? I don't know. And then you have is May Valentine. I mean, her outfit's still lovely, though. May Valentine and Kyle Davis doing this summit between Thunder Rosa and Camille, of course. So, and when it comes to the summit, you need to have an advocate representing the champion. I think that's kind of like the whole spiel going on with NWA. But I highly suggest to check out In the Click, especially, I know Tom and Baby Huey, they go in depth about like this whole summon stuff. I mean, they watch more NWA than I do because, you know, I started watching NWA since the season 1 of NWA Powerrr. Of course, that's how I've been introduced. I mean, I guess you could say I'm like more into like the whole modern wrestling aspect of it, but yeah. So anyway, Thunder Rosa has no choice to choose Melina to speak on her behalf. And Camille, of course, even though she wants her sexy fiance, Tom Lattimore, but she said like he doesn't want to deal with those catty ladies. So she's like, you know what, I guess bring in Taryn Terrell. Of course, Taryn Terrell bringing more of a sass and pizzazz, you know, tell it like it is. And so both ladies been going back and forth. Mostly Melina and Thunder Rosa has been more vocal than Taryn Terrell. Taryn Terrell bringing in more sass, advocating for Camille. However, Melina said she wanted a rematch from Camille since, you know, Thunder Rosa lost the number 1 contendership match to Camille at the Back for the Attack pay-per-view, especially who's going to be the one that's going to be challenging Serena Deeb for the NWA Women's Champion. And so Taryn said that they will have a list of demands next week. So a lot of argument going on until like Taryn says some insult to Melina and Thunder Rosa, and that's where Thunder Rosa was about to beat the holy hell until poor Kyle Davis trying to carry Thunder Rosa, back her up, but then like he got like strike from Thunder Rosa. So I feel like this segment is kind of like more of an elevated version of the NWA Girl Power. And you know what? If they bring it back, this is what I want to see instead of like, you know, these girls like talking, like trash talking, you know, but like this in more of a elevated way, and I love it. However, about Taryn Terrell, since she advocated Camille, is Taryn Terrell strictly business? I think that's gonna be decided by Nick Aldis, you know, I mean, Taryn Terrell is strictly business. I mean, you want to have more eye candy? I mean, Camille, with all due respect, she is the eye candy, but she's more of an active wrestler, so why not have Taryn Terrell advocating on her behalf, you know? Or, like, advocating Chris Adonis. Hey, win-win situation, y'all. Alrighty, and then afterwards, you have, of course, the choosing teams. That's right. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, like, after Kratos' beatdown from, like, Sal Renato, out comes Tom Lattimore and Chris Adonis, and they made an announcement that Kratos is going to be the third person for the Team Aldis versus Team Murdoch's match. That is right, and that's where we lead up to the main event match. Team Aldis versus Team Murdoch. So representing Team Aldis, of course, Tom Lattimore, Chris Adonis, and Kratos. And to representing Team Murdoch, you have Trevor Murdoch, Aaron Stevens, and Tim Storm. At first, it was supposed to be Sal Ronaldo, but unfortunately, he got bruised up so hard from Kratos' like brutal strike. So Tim Storm did actually took his place, and while Sal Ronaldo was acting like a manager, the match itself was really fun. I do enjoy it a lot than expected, especially like the whole like tag team dynamics. But unfortunately, at the end, strictly business, and Kratos did pick up the victory by Tom Lattimore using his finisher to Tim Storm and thus pin him. And unfortunately, Trevor Murdoch has to be staying home for 30 days. So it was a really good show for NWA. As what Joe Galley said, this is like one of the most unusual episodes of NWA. It was pretty fun. I mean, he did mention it during the Pope versus Tyrus match, you know, but all in all, actually, he did it on Sal Ronaldo versus Kratos' match also. But I just feel that, like, the build-up they're doing, especially their upcoming pay-per-view that they just announced a couple days ago, it's going to be on June 6th, which I'm trying to pop up the name of the pay-per-view. That's right. NWA When Our Shadows Fall. That's right. Sunday, June 6th is going to be their next pay-per-view. And I think that is like a good way to set up for each of like what's going to be happening with the matchup as well. However, with Serena Deeb being the NWA Women's Champion, hopefully she'll be all clear. Maybe by the time June hits, or maybe before Double or Nothing. I mean, I would like to see her versus Camille in a AEW pay-per-view, but that's just me. Or a triple threat match. But we're gonna have to wait and see. And so for my grade of the NWA Powerrr episode, I'm gonna give it like a generous B plus. I mean, I do enjoy the Pope versus Tyrus match. I do enjoy how the storyline is being more developed between Slice Boogie and Jack Stain. The whole like the women's summit was pretty entertaining, and I do enjoyed it. The main event match was really solid, and I just hope that we don't have to see Trevor Murdoch on TV more often. Hopefully we'll be seeing him like once those 30 days off, and maybe like 2 episodes later he'll make a surprise, maybe in disguise or whatever, but that's just me. Alrighty, you guys. So without further ado, that is it for the NWA Powerrr recap. We're going to go to Impact Wrestling. That is right. For Thursday, April 29th. So for the results for the before the Impact pre-show match, you have is James Storm defeated Diener in a pretty much a good singles match, even though you have Chris Sabian by the corner, you have Violent by Design by the corner, and it's a solid match. So James Storm did the last call to Diener and does pick up the victory. So a good revenge to the ending. Now I want to talk about a little bit about the Impact Wrestling Rebellion, giving you guys my final thoughts. So overall, the pay-per-view itself, like I mentioned it on the last episode, it was one of the better pay-per-views than the Impact Wrestling Hard to Kill on pay-per-view, but better than the AEW Revolution pay-per-view. I'm just saying. But all in all, it was a really well put together of the pay-per-view. Even though Matt Cardona versus Brian Myers match, good thing that Matt Cardona did not sustain a severe injury, even though he has to take it easy on his kneecap ever since that brutal fall. We all saw it all together. But I'm glad it did work out and he is okay, but bandaged up on his kneecap. And so the whole developing a storyline, especially W. Morrissey debut, aka Big W, it looks like he's just by himself. He's just helping Violent by Design. So he's not like the latest recruitment or anything in particular. I figure that Taylor Wilde making her return to Impact Wrestling, especially being the one that's going to facing Deonna Purrazzo as continuing the storylines altogether. However, she did issue a statement on Twitter regarding her theme song that is pretty much, a lot of mixed opinions. She said she doesn't care if anybody likes her style or her taste in music. She really liked it a lot, And I did listen in depth of her theme song, and it is pretty much kind of like a all girls punk rock band. Think of Bikini Kill or Hole, of course. So that's just bringing more of the vibe, especially with Taylor Wilde. I'm glad that she came out of the retirement and she revamped her gimmick too as a punk rock misfit as she is, of course. And also the main event match between Kenny Omega versus Rich Swann for the title versus titles match, it was very well received in a positive way, especially there's no distraction, no interference. It's just a very classic, simple match that we were all really enjoy so much. So with that, I still stand by my grade. I give it a B+. It was a very well put together pay-per-view. And with that being said, the opening of Impact Wrestling is the Fallout. So Scott D'Amore did inform Don Callis that Kenny Omega needs to show up in person. Otherwise, Kenny Omega will be stripped from the Impact World Champion and be suspended indefinitely, of course. So Don Callis is starting to contact Kenny Omega right away to make sure he better get his butt out here until the end of the show. He has it up until the end of the show that Kenny needs to show up. And so Scott D'Amore came out, got into the ring, and have some of the male superstars of Impact Wrestling surrounded in the ring. You have is Triple XL, you have Violent by Design, you have Eddie Edwards, Willie Mack, TJP, Josh Alexander, Ace Austin, Madman Fulton, Who else was there? Oh, you have is Black Taurus, Crazy Steve, Tommy Dreamer. I think Tommy Dreamer. No, not Tommy Dreamer. Oh, Hernandez, Johnny Swinger. Yeah, I guess that's it. Oh, and Rohit Raju and Shira, of course. They're all surrounding the ring, and Scott D'Amore made the announcement that there will be a 6-way number 1 contendership match for Kenny Omega's Impact World Championship match, and there will be a 6 qualifying match to determine who enters the number 1 contenders match, which the 6-way number 1 contendership match will be taking place at the next Impact Plus special, which is Under Siege, will be taking place on May 15th, you guys. So the first match you have is Jake Something versus the returning Chris Bay. Of course, we haven't seen Chris Bay in a long time. And it was pretty much a solid match. A lot of back and forth going on. Like Chris Bay with the enziguri into a diving crossbody for a 2 count. Jake Something with the clothesline. And then with a sit-out powerbomb. A lot of pinfalls and near falls from this particular match. And unfortunately, you guys, Chris Bay did defeat a Jake Something. All thanks to Rohit Raju. Grabbed the ankle from Jake Something. And that's where Chris Bay did the roll-up and pick up the victory, of course. So yeah, and I'm glad Chris Bay is actually going to be competing in a 6-way number 1 contendership match, because he definitely really deserved it. It seems to me that I feel that Chris Bay is no longer in the cruiserweight picture, well, X Division picture, so therefore he's probably going to be chasing just for the big league, which is the World Heavyweight title, and I'm for it, you guys. Afterwards, you have Sami Callihan shows up and kind of like, gloating on Don Callis, calling him the Jackal, of course, Don Callis' former name. And he introduced himself, and all he wanted is that gold off from Kenny Omega, and he has a plan. So he definitely walked away. So kind of like a motive going on with Sami Callihan playing some mind tricks, especially as a tweener. But yeah. Afterwards, you have Gia Miller interviewing the returning Taylor Wilde, of course. How Taylor is very excited that she's back in Impact Wrestling after being retired for 10 plus years, until she got interrupted by Tennille Dashwood and Kayla with the K, which Tennille is trying to convince Taylor to, be in her tag team, even though it's kind of like a lot of miscommunication all along. Taylor actually turned her down and just left, because, Taylor, she doesn't need a tag team. She'd rather perform on her own, especially being a veteran in the Knockouts division as well. And then you have a squash match between W. Morrissey, a.k.a. Big W, versus Sam Beal. You remember him, the one that got a beatdown from Sami Callihan, who was also trained by Trey Miguel, of course. So nothing much. It's just a squash match. So obviously, Big W did defeat Sam Beal with a powerbomb to pick up the win. So decent match. But yeah, and then you have is Gia Miller interviewing Deonna Purrazzo, Kimberly, and Susan as Deanna's talking about that Kimberly is ready for her matchup against Taylor Wilde, and that Kimberly said that, the curator will make sure that nothing ever happens. And Deonna suggested that Susan and Kimberly will go on their own, and Deonna Purrazzo will stay backstage. And she said that she's not afraid of any knockout that she'll ever take, but then she kind of ran into Havoc and have a brief stare down, and Havoc left, leaving Deonna kind of like a little bit of a standstill, of course. So, and then you have a backstage interview with Willie Mack, which he actually is calling out Big W, of course, for a match at Under Siege. So pretty much kind of like a revenge match for what happened at Rebellion, where Willie Mack, Eddie Edwards, and James Storm and Chris Sabin did lost to Violent by Design, of course, and so Big W had to be taking place of Eric Young, since Eric Young is going to be out with an ACL. And it looks like Eric Young is going to be part of a managerial role, since he has his knee brace already intact. So it seems that the rivalry is starting to build up between Willie Mack wanting to get the revenge from him after all. So, I can't wait. Especially, I want to say about Big W's promo too from earlier. I like his delivery and how everybody's introduced to who he is as well, even though he looks pretty good, even though he looks like a tall version of Edge. But all that matters, like I said on the last episode, he is healthy and he is doing very well. Then you have is Kimberly with Susan versus Taylor Wilde. And it was pretty much a very fun match. I do like the fact that Taylor Wilde did lip sync to her own theme song, you know. It's very cute. A lot of back and forth going on. But the only thing I would like to comment is I'm kind of like not a fan of Kimberly's ring gear. It kind of reminds me of Elsa from Frozen, of course. You know, the Disney character. But, you know, it is what it is. A lot of back and fight, a lot of takedown, a lot of like forearms and clothesline. And how about Taylor Wilde with that impressive head sizzle? Like, holy crap. And then she did the crucifix before Kimberly did hit her with the jawbreaker and drops her down with a kick for a 2 count before missing a swanton bomb. And then that's where Taylor Wilde did the code breaker. And then she did a Indian deathlock. And thus Taylor Wilde pick up the victory. So Taylor Wilde has pretty much a new finisher, which is an Indian deathlock. Her old finisher is the Northern Lights suplex, but I guess this is like more of a modifying finisher that she has since like she came out of retirement. And it's a good way to like reintroduce everybody who is the OG of the knockouts, of course. Afterwards, Susan and Kimberly started to attack Taylor, and then out comes Tennille Dashwood and Caleb with the K, where Tennille did hit the spotlight kick to Susan and then knocked down Kimberly, of course. And thus, Tennille and Taylor Wilde did stand tall, but then Tennille still wanted to convince Taylor Wilde to team up with her, and she's very hesitant. And then afterwards, in backstage, you have his Moose confronting Scott D'Amore about having to earn a title shot at Kenny Omega before James Storm shows up and face off with Moose. And so they had already announced a match that Moose and James Storm will be facing up against each other. However, one thing to comment is we haven't seen Rich Swann, you know. I guess he's just kind of like in recovery of what happened to that match itself. But we all know that like Moose is somewhat looking for Rich, but you know, at the same time, he wanted a title shot. So pretty much Moose versus James Storm will be part of pretty much a qualifying match, I believe, but I'll check. And then he has a rematch, of course, the X Division Championship match between the current champ, Josh Alexander versus Ace Austin. It was pretty much a solid match. I enjoy this match pretty much throughout the whole show together. I mean, Ace Austin with the Enziguri into a facebuster, and then hit forearm and a kick in the corner. I mean, you have Josh Alexander with the Chaos Theories and lock into the ankle lock. A lot of like counters, a lot of like a bit of like strikes going on. And then Josh then countered the fold before hitting a powerbomb onto his knee before locking in the ankle lock, and thus Josh Alexander retained the title. So it was a very fun match altogether, and hopefully this is probably the end of the feud between Josh Alexander and Ace Austin. Or who knows what's going to happen with the X Division, since, you know, Josh has a lot of competition ahead. And then you have a backstage interview between the new Knockouts Tag Team Champion Jordynne Grace and Rachel Ellering, as they were talking about their impressive victory and how Jess has faith in Jordynne Grace, especially finding that missing piece of a tag team partner, which is Rachel Ellering. And then they got interrupted by Fire and Flava saying like their match is very unfair, and they're all chatty Cathy until Rachel Ellering just called Kiera Hogan, Natasha Steele, Cardi B, and Cardi C, which that had me dying big time. Oh, I had to put it out there, you guys. That's one of my favorite parts. So it looks like the beef between these two teams are still continuing. It's probably going to be seeing a rematch, probably at Under Siege from the looks of it. You know, it is what it is. And then we have another rematch from Rebellion. Brian Myers versus Matt Cardona, which his knee is bandaged up. And I'm glad that the rivalry still continue on to see, like, Matt is doing pretty good, like, in ring, even though he's trying to take it easy with the knee. A lot of pinfalls, a lot of near falls, missile drop kick, power bomb, you know, and then, of course, Matt Cardona did hit Brian Myers with the radio silent before Brian can hit him with the roster cut. But you know what? Nope. Matt Cardona did counter with the radio silent, and thus he picked up the victory, So what does this mean? Is this the end of the feud between both guys? They've been best friends for 18 years. They have a podcast together. Probably, because there's a lot of competition ahead. And then you got a video package from Violent by Design, how Eric Young said he's happy that he has Rhino and Diener to represent for the qualifying match. I think so. Yeah, I'll check the cards again. And then how they're excited. However, afterwards, announcement time, because this is what I'm excited for the most. They just announced that, of course, the headbanger himself, the former IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion / the winner of the 2020 Super J Cup, El Fantasma, will be making his debut on Impact Wrestling. Oh my god, you guys. So what does this mean? Like I said about Josh Alexander, he's going to have like a bigger competition ahead in the X Division. You know what? ELP, everybody. That's right. ELP will be making his appearance. And I think that's the reason why, because they have like Alpha Tasmo being in Impact Wrestling and Finn Juice to retain the title, because I know in Japan they're going over another restriction laws, because like the COVID-19 cases has been increases, and I know New Japan Pro Wrestling unfortunately had to cancel a couple of the events, because of the rising numbers. So I know, like, for the guys that couldn't able to travel over to Japan, especially with like the stricter quarantine protocol and all that, so now they have no choice but to stay here, but also like either appear on New Japan Strong or continue on with the partnership, which I'm going to get into it during the AEW bonus in a bit, because that's another match I want to talk about. So I'm so excited to see El Fantasma this week on Impact Wrestling, and it's going to be amazing. And now for your main event match, you have Sami Callihan versus Eddie Edwards for the qualifying match. A feud in the making again. How many times do we see Sami Callihan and Eddie Edwards facing, like, hella times? Yeah, hella. It's a pretty much a good match. A lot of, like, counters, a lot of kickouts. I mean, you have Eddie Edwards did kick his leg out on the top turnbuckle and kick and tears out his face. And then you saw Eddie hit the stunner into a Frankensteiner before hitting the blue thunderball. And then you saw both guys going at it until, lo and behold, the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega start attacking both of them, of course. And unfortunately, the match ends in a no contest, of course. And afterwards, Finn Juice comes out and start attacking Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. But of course, they've been outnumbered by the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega. And thus, of course, Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers celebrate, and that's where Impact Wrestling ends. So, you guys, I mean, the episode of the Impact Wrestling, The Fallout from Rebellion, was a pretty decent episode. Now we all know that there's going to be a qualifying match that's going to be taking place. Like, whoever's going to win each of the qualifying matches will be participating in the six-way match at Under Siege. Storyline has been to continue, but I feel like I notice now that Impact Wrestling is heavily promoted more of the crossover with New Japan Pro Wrestling, like having Finn Juice being appearing, so is El Fantasma, and then Kenny Omega being the double champion. I know I mentioned it before about, Kenny Omega needs to be presented it more, especially promoting AEW, for crying out loud, too. With that, I'm just going to give the show a generous solid B, I mean, it was a pretty decent show. Enough about that. So anyway, last part. AEW bonus. So, as you guys know, that I've been doing a lot of reactions video on the Teddy Turnbuckle's YouTube channel when it comes to AEW show like AEW Dark Elevation, and AEW Dynamite. And a while ago, I started to do the AEW Dynamite breakdown live stream on the Teddy Turnbuckle YouTube channel, which I'm going into more in depth of the show. So therefore, you guys, The AEW bonus will be on hold. However, that doesn't mean that I'm going to be covering AEW bonus news because I wanted to make sure it's related to the cross promotion as well as a little bit from New Japan Pro Wrestling. So, as you guys know, they did announce the rest of the matches for this week's Blood and Guts special, especially like the whole main event between the Pinnacle versus the Inner Circle for the Blood and Guts match. But however, the match that everybody's talking about for next week on Wednesday, May 12th, Jon Moxley will be defending his IWGP United States Champion against Yuji Nagata, you guys. That's right. The Blue Justice will be appearing on AEW Dynamite next Wednesday, y'all. I know Yuji Nagata did call out Jon Moxley during the New Japan Pro Wrestling tours that he wanted to get that title off of Moxley. And you know, it's already been happening, you guys. So it looks like Yuji Nagata has already been here in the United States already. And get this Friday on New Japan Strong, Jon Moxley will be teaming up with Chris Dickinson, Jon Moxley and Chris Dickinson versus Yuji Nagata and Ren Narita in a tag team match. So this is going to be very exciting. And I'm glad with AEW they can finally acknowledge Jon Moxley being the IWGP United States Champion and cross-promoting with New Japan, because I know a lot of people are crapping on AEW for not like doing more of the cross-promotion. I understand they brought in Takesh. It's so hard to pronounce his name. The guy from DDT Pro, the wrestler from DDT Pro, and you know, Maki Itoe also, and then other wrestlers. And it seems like it's like more of a reliever to that how AEW is being acknowledging more of these cross promotions. So Yuji Nagata, AEW, that's going to bring in more of a buzzworthy effect too. All right, you guys, with that being said, that is it for the episode of Into the Stratusphere, you guys. I mean, wow. I think I really like this format a little bit better, but what do you guys think? So again, if you want to leave suggestion or anything, feel free to slide into my DM on Twitter or Instagram at simply_C_OK. That's SIMPLY_C_OK. Or slide into the DM on my TikTok account, simply_C_OKAY, you guys. Or send me an email, simply.c.okay@gmail.com, you guys. So with that being said, you guys, make sure to follow the Bulletcast on all social media platforms at Bulletcast. Make sure to follow at the Bulletcast on all podcasting platforms. Make sure to subscribe to the Bulletcast YouTube channel. Click like, share, hit that notification button as well. And you guys, with that being said, make sure to wash your hands 20 to 30 seconds. Practice social distancing. Wear your face mask and face covering at all times. Also, get vaccinated, you guys. It's totally up to you. The choice is yours. And remember to please be kind to one another. We're all in this together. Till then, I'll see you guys with another episode of Into the Stratusphere. This is your girl, Cindy G. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Cheers, y'all.
This has been the Bulletcast. Thank you for listening.